Hello and welcome to the AVEX Podcast. I've got Vince with me today. Welcome, Vince.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Fantastic, lovely to have you. Tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about the company you work for.
Sure. So I am the founder and managing director of what has recently been repositioned to Spark London. We started as Spark PM about 4.5 years ago. We're now Spark London as a bit of a repositioning piece, which I'm sure we'll talk about. My background is commercial fit out. So I started in London fit out just over 20 years ago. I started on the contractor side as a young assistant construction manager. Earned my stripes, so to speak, in commercial fit out. Then, while studying, transitioned across to consultancy side, where I worked for two of the largest property firms in the world, who I'm sure you would have heard of. And then, during COVID, as everyone did, had time to think. And I thought, if I'm going to do this myself, now is probably the time. And maybe do it slightly differently. And that's where Spark was born.
Fantastic. Now, I like what you focus on as a company, and obviously from an individual standpoint as well. You say you've been in the industry for 20 years. That's phenomenal. That's a long time. So you're bringing a lot of experience to what we're talking about. But you've recently transitioned from PM to more of a strategic view. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so it's a real conscious effort. Thank you for that, by the way. 20 years does seem like a long time, but there's people in our industry that have, they're at the 30, 40 year point. So I'm kind of still midway through. However, I've seen a lot of change over that 20 years. And over the course of my time as a consultant, which is, I don't know, let's say, last 10 years, give or take, or maybe even slightly longer, I've noticed that the fit-out industry, and I'm going to be talk specific to occupier fit-out, so not the landlord-investor side of the market, has got, well, it's changed a hell of a lot over the last 20 years. Some great change, some, what I would argue, and my peers and colleagues would if they're being open, honestly argue as well, it's not great change. I really think we've lost our way a little bit, which is controversial. But if we all look in our mirror as if we call ourselves fit-out experts, the industry's got harder and faster. For various reasons, really. The world has changed, the market's changed, technology's changed, and I'm sure we'll touch on technology. But we seem to have got ourselves in this routine of rushing things. And I've got to caveat, it's not the whole industry. It's, I kind of visualise the fit-out occupier market in 3 bands. There's kind of like and it's not an exact science, a lower occupier, smaller occupier band, which is up to 30,000 square feet. 30,000 up to 100 is your mid-range occupier, and 100 and above is your what you'd call your large-scale occupier. People have got different metrics, but I've noticed change across all of that. And the small to medium band, where I kind of focus on, is where there's definite improvements that can be made when it comes to both planning and executing a project. So to come back to your question, my mission is to try and take us back a few steps. To time and money is always important, but at what cost? In my experience, we seem to be running into problems far more than we should be avoiding the problems in the first place. So, we still do project management, and I am a project manager, but given my experience at other firms, and actually what I believe to be the right way to do things, certainly when I started my career, we just took more of a breath. And we were a bit more strategic about how we went about things. So we've repositioned as project strategists, first and foremost, and project managers. And I'm really focused on being more strategic about our projects and giving clients that strategic advice at the outset.
So that's
covered a lot there. So
that's brilliant. There's a lot to talk about. Now you speak about the pace of things have moved and things happening very quickly. But then you're having to step back and be a bit more strategic. Why is that?
So it's based on a lot of reflection. Again, depending where, and let's just say a project manager, for argument's sake. where they position themselves in the pool of other project managers. Like I say, I'm kind of small to mid occupier projects. I've done some larger projects in my time, but that's tend to be where most of my experience is.
Right.
Now, depending on what type of occupier they are and what sector they come from, if they're an experienced global law firm that's going for 30, 40 years versus the other end of the scale, which is a tech startup, and everyone in between, they've got different needs. But the one consistent thing I've seen across many projects over the years at those mid-range is not really taking a breath at the start, okay? And I'm kind of repeating myself here, but we run into problems that can absolutely and should absolutely be avoided. And as an industry, we don't either seem to learn from them, or project managers get a call just that little bit too late.
Right.
And I've actually found, certainly over the last 5 years with Spark and our type of clients, but also reflect on my time at my two previous organisations as well, in retrospect, that we tend to get handed a project and told to deliver it by the client, and sometimes that works. That's great, but more often than not, there's gaps.
Right.
There's gaps in the brief. There's gaps in the budget that need to be plugged, and the budget's already been approved by the CFO without enough information and intelligence. Or there's a discovery issue on site that actually no one's really thought about, and it's going to cost us time and money later on. We simply rush.
Right. So whilst you have a timeline, I get your point. You shouldn't really be rushed. You should have looked at the larger, more helicopter view from the start.
Yes.
Now, AV is a huge focus for us.
Yep.
I'd be quite keen to understand where AV comes in for you in that fit-out cycle. Is it addressed early? Is it left as, that's just something we add to what we're doing at the end?
Yeah.
What's the general view in the fit-out world, and what's your view?
Yeah. Again, I'll caveat at the small to medium-sized occupier end of the market. It is absolutely an afterthought still. And again, that will be controversial, and it's a generalisation. There'll be smarter, more sophisticated clients that are at the upper end of that have done it before, or they understand the importance of, I'll say, real estate technology as a general concept, but certainly when it comes to AV, they'll understand the importance of it. So they'll think about it sooner. But in my experience and my perspective, and the colleagues and peers that I talk to, and supply chains that I talk to, that's an exception rather than the rule, where it's thought about. And the reason, I think, people, and by people I mean project teams, which are heavily driven by architectural design brief and architectural influence, people tend to look at the stuff they can see and touch quicker and get emotionally attached to that and fall in love with the look and feel way before people will actually ask the question, well, how does it work?
Right, the practicality.
And they're two different things. So that's the main driver, I feel. But then I think AV, and you'll know far better than I, but when I did start 20 years ago, AV was a screen on the wall.
Yeah.
Then there might have been a webcam that appeared with a USB cable going into a laptop. That was the next evolution. We've come so far.
Right.
And I don't think people's reconciliation of how fast AV's moved and actually how different it is these days has kept up with other aspects of a project.
Right.
Hence, it's still an afterthought.
Right. So you've actually answered my next question, which is, examples of how not looking at AV from the start can affect a project negatively, because you've obviously said, back in the day, AV was a screen on the wall. That's completely changed.
Yeah.
Now, what are you finding clients or fit-out companies or project owners, what are you seeing that they do when it comes to, okay, this is what we need to do from an AV standpoint, this is the expectation the client has, but we haven't given it much thought. How are you seeing people approach that, in your world?
Yeah, reactively is the summary word I would use. So I'm sure it's been happening for years, but I'd say over the last 5 to 10 years, we've heard the rise of workplace strategy,
Right.
which is a term that's probably always been there, but it really gained traction over the last 5 to 10 years, give or take. And that workplace strategy, and again, it was elevated post-COVID as well. You know, it's how do organisations and their staff use space to cater for different types of persona, different departments, all that kind of good stuff that any organisation has across their staff. Again, very different from a legal firm to a tech firm to an accountant to whatever. All very different. But workplace strategy rose in importance.
Right.
But again, it focused on probably some of the easy wins. It was the type of persona or type of character you've got. Are they introvert, extrovert? Are they technical? Are they strategic?
Right.
You know, what's the type of people in an organisation? And that seemed to drive different work settings. We've all had the collaborative work areas and the touchdowns and the desks. And is it 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 6, 1 to whatever? That was always the priority. And no one really thought about the technology that needs to go alongside that to make all of that work. Again, it's a big thing to say no one thought of it, but it didn't really keep pace. And now I think we're trying to catch up with that, because all of that actually really influences how those people or those personas actually work and operate. You can fill out as many spreadsheets and do as much analysis as you like, but once that person is in that desk or in that chair or whatever it may be, what's the technological solution to enable them to do their job? And if you think about how more connected we've all become globally, more reliant on collaborative tools and Teams and Zooms and all that kind of good stuff, that's all technology.
Right.
And it's got to get designed in, it's got to get built in. And yeah, there just seems that disconnect. And I'm still seeing it. You know, even as recent as last week.
Right.
Where someone somewhere goes, okay, right, now AV. And we go, right, now AV.
Right.
And I kind of usually have a wry smile because I have asked those questions at the start or as soon as I've come on board. And it's okay, it's just going to be a really basic, simple setup because blah, blah, blah. Okay, brilliant. I'm already kind of doubting that, but let's see. And sure enough, it's a very different setup. And as you know, now that everything's networked and 99% of AV equipment now is networked, that changes the infrastructure.
Yeah.
It changes the whole comms room, you know, expansion space, local to the equipment. Okay, around the corner in a different comms room, risers, you name it. It's fundamentally different.
Right.
And the sequence of build on site is different as well. So yeah, I could go on all day.
So no, but that's all very good stuff, though. And I think,
Yeah.
you know, you've hammered on the point that AV is an afterthought. Now, you came with a group of others to our NLHQ recently.
Yes.
And I'd like to think we're all inspired, AVEX employees as well as the guests, because you see the innovations going ahead. How important do you think it is for fit-out companies to work more closer with clients and with AV experts, you know, AV integration companies, to come in early and uncover what's required in, you know, a specific environment, and obviously deploying an effective solution, not just from, you know, an AV standpoint, but a total project standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's fundamental is the word I would use, and if I or how I do picture this, and how I urge people to picture this, is you've got two complete opposite ends of let's call it a fit-out project, okay? Really basics. You've got an acquisition piece up front. So if we take a client that's going to be moving office from A to B, they're going to invest substantial CapEx into that, and time. So that's where it all really starts. Now, who's generally the first person through the door? People will think it's the project manager. It's not, it's the agent, generally speaking. Probably closely followed by some kind of architectural influence, whether that be an architect or a design and build contractor. We'd love it to be the project manager and then the cost manager, but actually it's not as common as people may think. We're usually a step behind. So it starts with acquisition, and that's where, in my view, and I've got a little bit of a point I would like to raise with the industry, that if those are the first people through the door, then they need to take some responsibility for starting a good brief or starting to extract a good brief from that client. And if you fast forward all the way to the end of a project, what's the last, or who's the last people in the door? It's furniture, it's pot plants, it's cups and saucers, and it's usually the technology or the AV in this instance. And it needs to flip.
Right.
It needs to flip because the technology, and I'm a firm believer in this, and it's been part of my repositioning strategy to bring technology and ESG higher up the agenda as part of a strategy. Before you go thinking about project management modes, understand what you're project managing first, get it right. So hence technology is higher up the agenda. And if you bring those aspects, you know, the importance of those higher up the agenda, you'll get a much better product. Because this matters, the technology matters. It's got a business enabler for someone. CTOs and CFOs, they don't sign off big AV or IT budgets for the sake of it. There's got to be some kind of ROI there. And the ROI from an AV perspective is staff collaboration and efficiency. So if they're fundamental to how a business operates and you've got such a big capex behind the technology, doesn't it make sense to take it to the front and get it built into the rest of your design?
Yeah.
It's to me, it's fundamental. And if you think about it, if you get it really right, the technology can and should drive the furniture solutions. How many times have we walked into a meeting room or something, you know, and people want simplicity. Plug it in, I don't want to press any buttons, or I want to press one button and it works. Well, that takes a hell of a lot of design and coordination and investment. How many times have we been in a good AV room where you plug it in, it kind of works, and that's all good and well, or it takes 5 minutes to get it working. But then the furniture arrangement isn't right, and everyone's kind of leaning in at the camera or whatever it may be. It's all stilted. And I'm talking generally, by the way. I'm talking industry-wide. So again, we can just do better. And I know that we've got some really smart, clever furniture solutions these days. We've got some really smart interfaces that can actually facilitate simplicity. But you've got to think about them at the outset. You really do. And that drives, if you do that correctly, that drives getting the budget right, which will save value engineering. It will save sacrifices along the journey. And it can be designed in and it can be programmed in. So you've got efficiency every which way you look. So yeah, that's how I see it. Some things need to flip.
Right, and I think you're shouting about this. Ultimately speaking, the right approach will ultimately save costs for the client because you've done it right from the start.
Yes.
Now, how do you see all of what you're saying, including not just tech being, you know, given an eye to initially, but ESG as well? How do you see what we're talking about now? How do you see that positively changing in the next 3 to 5 years?
My hope is that it just gets more attention, but I do think we've got to raise awareness to it, which makes it sound like some big social cause. But actually, if you think about how most small to medium kind of project teams come together and then start a project, it's usually on the back foot in one way or another.
Right.
I would honestly say in my 20 years of God knows how many projects that is, value engineering has always had to be done. Why? Why have we always gone in on the wrong budget and had to make sacrifices? Now, sometimes there's reasons, don't get me wrong, sometimes there is. But majority of time, a client is either going to ask for more money or don't want to ask for more money, so we shave a bit off there, shave a bit off there, shave a bit off there. And it's usually because of the way the natural flow of a project goes and the timeline and the time compression. It's, right, what's further down the path that we can shave money off? It's pot plants, it's furniture, it's technology. Because you're lower down the workflow. It's the only place we can save money. Doesn't make it right. But that is a symptom of how we've come to be, and that's what I said at the start. But we seem to have gotten ourselves in a routine where we think it's okay to rush into things without thinking about them up front and just deal with it. And we're in the fast-paced fit-out industry. That's life. We're never going to all put our feet up and have all the money and time in the world. We're not. But there's some real easy wins. And how's it going to change? I think it's going to be through education, because the front acquisition piece, there's valuable time there that sometimes could be spent better when it comes to a time perspective, which takes a little bit of pressure off the project team to think about these things a little bit more and a little bit deeper. I think clients have got to be more invested.
Right.
I think, again, part of that education piece, AV didn't really sit under anyone's banner because it was a TV on a wall. Now that it's all networked, now is it an IT thing? Do the IT teams need to get more invested and more savvy and bring it under them? Project managers, I guess, cost managers, we're all part of it. We've got to look at technology very differently.
Right.
And that, to me, is a consultant advice obligation. If you think what I said at the start there of this kind of example, the first people through the door, agent, architect, me, whoever it may be, we're the consultants. We're the experts. It's our obligation to advise clients on what they're not thinking about,
Right.
or tease out what they are thinking about and then try and formulate the plan. And that's where I think we've lost our way, going full circle, yeah.
Right. Now, I must say, I mean, I've met you and a few of your team members, and I must say there's definitely a tenacity and a drive within your team. You guys love what you do, which I think is great. And I'd like to hear, this is sort of off script, but I'd like to hear of a project that you've completed. You don't need to give out any sensitive information.
Sure, okay.
And that you've been able to use that expertise of advising possibly on the need to look at stuff, like AV early, and you were able to see some sort of efficiency, if you may.
Sure. There's quite a few examples of that. Thank you for those kind words, by the way. That's much appreciated. Our whole kind of principles is direction, momentum, and energy. That's how we like to go about things. So it's about removing the red tape and bureaucracy to focus on what matters. And a project that comes to mind, which was heavy on technology. I won't mention the client's name, but it was a global client that was based over in Canary Wharf.
Right.
They were moving out of one building into another, and in doing so, which is often the case, the board decided, right, if we're going to move, let's use that as an opportunity to change how we work and invest, which was fantastic. And they were going from a TV on a wall and an HDMI to something far better.
Right.
And it was going to enable bringing outside events inside. So there was an external venue saving there. So hence, right, we can reallocate some of that investment, etc. But what did that really mean? It meant we had to start with an architectural brief, ask a lot of pertinent questions about, okay, we're now going through a substantial change of how you work. We need to really understand how you intend to work. So there was questionnaires, there was workplace, there was all that kind of good stuff. But there was just a niggle at the back of our mind about some of the wishes and desires from a technology perspective that were kind of being mentioned but brushed over. And then what was happening, everyone was going to the carpet and the paint colours and this and that. All the natural good stuff that people love. But it just didn't feel right. So what we ended up doing was kind of independently, actually, off our own volition, is we engaged a technology consultant, and Spark actually took on the technology consultant or the AV design role.
Right.
Because we knew the model was broke, the normal model was broke, and it was going to go down a design and build route. And AV, we could just see it coming, AV was going to be tacked on to the end. But we were talking about global town halls with affiliate offices all over the place. And sensitive information being discussed because of the nature of the business. So we just thought, no, this doesn't feel right. So we flipped the script completely. We worked on a pretty robust, I'd say it was a technology questionnaire. It was more of a technology prompt.
Right.
Here's what we're thinking you actually need, and what we think you're saying, and how you think you want it to operate. What do you think to this? So we prompted more than we questioned.
Right.
And that got the right attention, thankfully. So then we got the client on side, and we then decided that while the architectural piece and the layout was all very important, this is actually probably more of a technology project than a fit-out.
Right.
Because the nature of how they wanted to operate, there was, I don't know, there's probably half a dozen small meeting rooms, then maybe another six to 8 person meeting rooms, then a multifunction town hall space, with 3 folding walls and huge LED screens, 3 times the size of that, that you know, for proper global events, with all sorts of multi-directional cameras and microphones and lapels and handhelds and repeater screens. And you're like, right, this is a technology project. So we flipped it. We designed that, the technology aspects of it, concurrently whilst designing the architecturals. But the architecturals were secondary to technology. It needed to function.
Right.
We still made it look beautiful, and it's a fantastic space, and it's as good as new. I was there just a few weeks ago, and it's as good as new. But technology drove the architectural design, right down to the furniture. We've got trapezoidal boardroom tables. We've got oval. We've got command centres. We've got IT help desks. We've got all those bits that make it function, you know, at an operational level.
Right.
And it's got a beautiful architectural layer over it.
Right.
So that sticks in my mind, and I learned so much on that. And it was the real, for me, the penny dropped actually. It was, everything's networked,
Right.
which means far more data cables than you think, which all come at a cost, which drove containment, which drove coordination, which drove the size of the comms rooms and the distances and all that, and even down to the very technical and maybe boring, but USB-Cs, well, they're only effective over certain lengths and all that kind of stuff. Acoustics, massively overlooked on major projects. So anyway, there you go. Yeah, that sticks in my mind as being, for me, the project where the penny dropped.
Right.
And we need to flip it.
So it became a technology-led project where tech may have been the afterthought, which I think is fantastic.
100%. And it drove how we procured things.
Right.
We saved, I think, well, I know, I'd done a desktop exercise. We saved 3 months over the whole course of the project by procuring the AV independently. Right. So we designed it independently, and we procured it independently, client direct. Right. Whereas usually it was going to get tagged on to the D&B contractor, who don't really, let's just say they're not skilled at dealing with complex technology. They're not. So we flipped it, and we got the D&B contractor going, strong coordination with design oversight from our AV designer. Right. And then we brought them together, alongside each other. We also had, I can keep going here, James, but we also put a lot of emphasis on the, and this is overlooked as well, the on-site and off-site testing and setting up and configuration. So important. And again, if we hadn't have done it the way we procured it and run it alongside, we would have probably overlooked the importance of the off-site testing, and then the on-site testing, demonstrations and handover, and soak testing would have been so compressed. And again, we'll have all seen it in our careers when you're kind of going into the project, the handover, and it's not quite working, and there's still people under the desk plugging things in and setting things up. It seems to be normal, but it doesn't have to be normal.
Right. You saved I think a key thing is you saved 3 months.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite profound, because if we say that as AV integrators, it's lovely that you can save time. It's lovely to hear. Yeah. Project strategists say the exact same thing. Yeah. Final thoughts from you. Anything else you'd like to say as we round up the podcast?
Oh, okay. Maybe not anything new that we've spoke about here, but I think what we can all do as an industry is, and I mean this, I'm a very visual person, look down and look up. So the agents, the clients, the project managers, the QSs, all of those guys need to get a bit more understanding of what happens downstream, right down to the guys on site with the screwdriver in the hand that are actually going to be doing something and making it work. Right. I think that's often overlooked, and it's very easy, again, controversial perhaps, for the client team to say, oh, contractor, go and sort it out, you make it work, we don't care. It's not that easy in real life, it's not. But then upwards as well, and I've been connected or affiliated with AV for a few years, lucky enough to be an AV Awards judge for a few years. But the AV industry needs to maybe understand the bigger picture of why something's happening as well. And I've always said this, the agency, the acquisition, the budget constraints, time, all that, they come top down. Doesn't mean it's your issue, but having an understanding of it kind of helps have a different conversation. But one thing I will say, which is going back to what you asked about the HQ over in NL, I've got to say, it was so impressive to see how slick the operation is. It was very, almost regimented in, there's where materials or whatever it may be comes in, and we've got a one-way system, and we've got paint on the floor, and there's bays, and there's cages, and it's all this, and it's very well operated, I've got to say, right down to every component having its own barcodes, which I've heard about, but never actually seen in action.
Right.
And it really works. So I was blown away by how slick the operation is. It gave me, I've got to say, it gave me real confidence and comfort that with the right AV partner, things can actually go to plan. And you know, you've got competition that can maybe make stuff happen, but is it as slick and well planned? Sometimes I'm not as convinced. So it was really eye-opening for me. Yeah.
It's very appreciated, and I mean we're very proud of that, you know, as well from a group standpoint. We practice what we preach, and I must say my favourite tech seen in the innovation space, which to me was new, was the experience where you create natural light.
Oh, those lights, yeah,
Those
that
lights,
was fantastic.
you can, and you essentially have tech in the ceiling that makes you feel like you're in the natural light. That was mind-blowing for everybody who saw it, and I think that was pretty phenomenal. That's
definitely, it's stuck in my mind. I've got a photo of that. I need to get the spec of it, because it kind of plays with your mind a little bit. You're walking into a dark kind of control room, for want of a better phrase, what felt like natural light well above you, and it wasn't. But again, that comes down to strategy. How are people, staff, you know, people assets at the end of the day going to use that space? Well, let's not just throw them in there and give them a lamp and a screen and say, do your job. Let's flip it. Let's bring it forward. How are they going to use that space? Let's build the solution and design around it. And I know that, you know, as I'm sure your listeners would expect, for your own HQ, technology is a heavy presence. But it's complemented with the right architectural features and experience. And it's done so well, I've got to say. So we just need to kind of get that thinking out to the rest of the industry and think strategically. That's what we've got to do. Right.
Vince, thank you very much for your time. I mean, we appreciate what you're doing, not just within your organisation, but for the industry as a whole. And thank you so much for joining us on this episode of our AVEX podcast. See you next time. Bye-bye.